Ventura is the kind of ship that isn't really anybody's favourite, but nobody really has a terrible time on board either. I bet you're thinking that such a vanilla, middle of the road ship doesn't even have 10 things that I could love. You probably think it's even less likely that there are 10 things I hate. Well, that shows what you know. Here, ladies and gentlemen, we go. I love the traditional cruise-style MDRs. I'm a big fan of, well, myself. I don't know if it's because I like my own company or because I hate everyone else's. But when I'm on a cruise ship, I really like the disposable friends on a large shared dining table. A bit of chit-chat over a pretty ordinary meal with pretty grandiose menu description gets a big yes from me. It's pretty rare to meet anyone really horrible, although if you've seen my Arcadia review then you'll know it's not impossible. And when it's a big table, if you're shy, like me, you can just treat it like a play and watch the action unfold. It's easy to make conversation because when all else fails you can rely on, have you been on this ship before? What's your favourite ship? First ship? What the ship? Or you can enjoy the reactions of your table mates when you tell them that you're a world champion professional sportsman, that you retired age 36 and now you cruise 10 or 12 times a year. Well, I assume we can all do that, can't we? I hate the buffet. Ship buffets generally, and Ventura's buffet specifically. It's like it was designed as a practical joke. Instead of one or two proper, open and organised serveries like every other ship in the world, this one has about 50 tiny little ones, each in the shape of a figure eight, fenced in, with 2 ways in and 1 way out. No discernible organisation as to what is where. Curry, then lettuce, then chips, then a hot egg. It's so crowded and chaotic in these mini buffets that it's less like grabbing lunch and more like actually being Pac-Man. I love these seats near Tamarind. Everyone, by which I mean me, loves being on a ship and just gazing out to sea. Prom deck aft at 2 a.m. with nobody around and no land in sight is the best. But setting up camp in a comfy chair, coffee in one hand and charisma in the other, right in front of a big picture window, lovely and warm on a cold November day, well, that's in touching distance of brilliant too. I hate the prom deck. It's got that horrible plastic wood effect lino. A lot of it is really narrow. A huge part is a smoking area which doubles the problem of being narrow. People are beasts, so they smoke where they shouldn't, and then they swear at me like it's my fault. And, on my cruise at least, I couldn't do laps because the stairs up and down from the clamshell section at the front were always closed. I love the Atrium. Don't get me wrong, it's not a showstopper. There's no airport lounge window like Iona, no Cheshire nightclub staircases like MSC, no harpist like Cunard or inflatable octopus or forced fun like Virgin. But what it does have is better than all of that. It's not huge, but it's big enough to look grand and impressive. It's borrowed from Princess, as is the ship design as a whole, and it's got all the stuff that an Atrium should have. Customer services, tick. Coffee shop, tick. Bar, tick. Shops, grand piano, loonies at a silent disco, tick, tick, tick. I hate the nonsensical design of the outside spaces. When I was a boy, I used to love a TV show called Nightmare. I never thought I'd be in it 35 years later. I'm on a cruise ship. There are tiny decks for no reason and staircases that don't lead anywhere. On the table, there's a looking glass. I don't know who needs to hear this, and it's probably easier to do now that you can just press delete rather than having to sharpen your pencils and get a new sheet of A1 out. But if you ever find yourself designing a cruise ship and you realise that you've forgotten something, do it again, with whatever that thing is properly incorporated into the design. Don't just bolt it on and hope that nobody notices the convoluted design. Stairs for no real reason or decks that you have to be a detective to find. Ugh. I love seeing behind the curtain. There's always at least one moment on every ship when I get a quick peek at something that the guests aren't supposed to see. Normally a second or so of white metal corridor as crew go in or out, or a flash of the Green Mile as someone pushes a trolley through, and it makes me nostalgic for when I worked on ships. On Ventura, that dodgy ship design literally serves these backstage glimpses up on a plate. There are loads of windows into crew corridors and stairwells, and having pressed my nosy nose up against the windows, I now know that Ventura's crew gym is way better than the empty cupboard with a dumbbell in that Aurora has. I hate these two sea monsters. Watch my full Ventura review if you can't just take my word for it. I love the theatre. It's big for a ship this size. It was always full, but I always got in. It's got no pillars or tech boxes blocking the view, so every seat in the place is the best seat. The seats are wide enough to be comfortable for a 45-minute show, but they're narrow enough to remind you not to go too wild at the buffet without hitting the gym. It gets used during the day to show movies, though not necessarily the movie they advertised, and the fold-out tables remind you why ships are better than planes. I hate being treated like a relative that P&O are ashamed of. I paid extra for this table in the buffet, looking directly at a pillar in front and deafened by the clatter of the plate clearing station behind. The food wasn't any better than the included food, despite being pay extra. The service was worse than the main dining room, and the surroundings were dreadful. It was especially irritating being given the worst table on board when dozens of better tables were unused. The beach house on Ventura is very like having a meal on the beach. It seemed like a good idea before you do it, but afterwards, well, you're full, but you didn't really enjoy it, and you've got sand in your pants. I love Metropolis. I mean, it's not a jazz bar. That would require some, what do you call it? Oh yeah, jazz. And it's in the wrong place. Which loon put the crow's nest at the back? But it's modern enough to be stylish, and at the same time, dated enough to be quaint. The video hall has aged like the special effects in Adam West's Batman. In 2008, I bet the video wall was mind-blowing. I can imagine people being really wowed by these magical windows into Paris or New York. But when I was sat drinking my coffee in Metropolis, when I looked at the video wall, it was so obvious that the camera was turned, and Bats and Robs were just walking along the floor, pretending it was a wall. Aww. I hate the bull skip parade on Gala night. Tell everyone to dress up ever so nice and hand out the vouchers for a free glass of pretendy champagne or elderflower press. I mean, nothing says elegance like reminiscing about free school meals. And that'll do. Forced fun isn't fun. And at first glance, the Gala night parades might seem okay, but just choose any single member of the crew involved. One of the guys on the stairs limply waving a flag, one of the team twirling a pom-pom, and just watch them. They look like they would be doing this by choice. They look like they're having fun. Chilling, isn't it? My night certainly wasn't enhanced by watching their misery, and no amount of free elderflower press could drown the image of those poor flag wavers. I love the utter lack of common sense. This trip was a cold, bleak November sailing around northern Europe. The wind was strong enough to just blow the ship from Southampton to Rotterdam, and the temperature was low enough to freeze my breath so that I had to snap it off any time I went on the open decks. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I bet they closed the outdoor bars rather than have crew stand there pointlessly, stamping their feet and rubbing their hands for hour after hour on the off chance that a chubby electrician from Rotherham fancied a beer in a hot tub. Wrong. Not only were all the outside bars open all day with nobody using them, there was also complimentary iced water dotted around for those who couldn't cope with the queues at the empty bars in this heat. I hate P&O's pish poor puddings. I've trained and dieted for my whole career, but now I'm retired, man. I should be getting as fat as a house, and P&O should be helping me. Sure, they serve up the calories, but they make them too disgusting to eat. I love the late night lunatics. Ventura is a time capsule, bobbing around in the North Sea as if the past 20 years never happened. I don't know if Ventura makes people act like old-fashioned cruisers, or if old-fashioned cruisers are drawn to Ventura. Probably both. Anyway, before K-pop and TikTok and knife crime, it was perfectly acceptable to just sit next to a stranger and start talking to them. I was only on Ventura for 4 nights and I made at least a dozen single-serving buddies. People who just pulled up a pew next to me in a bar or a late-night snacks and started telling me about their barn full of rescue cats, comparing Ventura to their last cruise or showing off about their next one, moaning about Rotterdam, like the lady in Fawlty Towers who wasn't happy with the view of Torquay from a Torquay hotel window, or wondering aloud, what the funk about the Stephen Mulhern show. And then they were gone, never to be seen again. For 20 minutes we were BFFs, and then we were strangers again. I mean, they were stranger than me. I hate Stephen Mulhern. The weird crowbarring of his massive face into an otherwise standard issue cruise ship show does not work. It spoils the flow, adds nothing, and the pitch to flog his merch comes after most of the audience have left, which makes the whole thing as much of a waste of their time as ours. I don't actually know who Stephen Mulhern is. Apparently, he's a magician. Well, I wish he'd disappear. I love the Glass House. As you leave the theatre, you walk through the tables with menus on and you think, oh, I'm in the Glass House. And then you see the walls and walk through the entrance and think, well, now I'm in the Glass House. And then you see the weak fake taverna and grab a seat in there. Surely I must be in the Glass House now. It's like a Russian doll of a venue, but without the problematic politics. The food is good. It's a bar, but the mood doesn't promote binge drinking. The only problem was the seagulls. That could just be the first wine I've had in 6 years talking. I hate the evidence that sinister things are happening out at sea. Now, I'm not saying that Ventura is definitely involved in some kind of cult, and at least on my sailing, nobody tried to involve me in anything more sinister than P&O's half-hearted afternoon tea. But this weird round thing up on Skydeck has a definite human sacrifice vibe. And the Coliseum seating around Oasis Pool is either for horrific voyeurism or some kind of splashy death match. Either way, I want none of it. I love being right. On this trip, I paid the cheapo fare, and I had to make do with whatever cabin I was given. But even when I have the option, I never bother choosing a cabin. People love telling you how to get a good one. The truth is, at least up until proven otherwise, that cabins are cabins are cabins. F306 is right next to the boozer and the casino, with a crew area right beside it. 3 big no-nos, supposedly. It was 100% A-OK. I hate how crowded Ventura feels on sea days. I've been to Rotterdam more times than Edgar Davids, so I didn't bother getting off. That gave me 2 days of enjoying a spacious ship with plenty of space and easy-to-find seating. As Dazza and Steve-O wandered around the cube houses or stuffed their faces in Market Hall. I hit the ground hard on the sea day home. I wandered around and around and around the coffee shop and Atrium for weeks without finding a seat. Half the guests must have been in there. I didn't dare go anywhere near the buffet, where no doubt the other half were. There was loads of seating in Tamarind, but no bar service during the day, and therefore no coffee. It was a sad end to my trip, making my own mug of horrible instant cabin coffee, knowing that all I had to look forward to was Southampton. Well, there it is. 10 things I loved, 10 things I hated. Ventura might be 50 Shades of Beige, but if you're as childish as I am, you can still flip-flop between love and hate on a ship where it's impossible to do either. 10 things that I loved and 10 things that I hated on P&O Ventura. Done.